The town of Zorah had long been shrouded in mystery. Perched on the edge of an arid valley, it was a place where whispers of curses and omens clung to the air like a suffocating mist. The villagers had always spoken of the cursed child, Samson, who lived at the outskirts with his widowed mother. They said he was born under the shadow of an ancient prophecy, a child who would bring destruction to the oppressors, but at a terrible cost. By the time he was a young man, Samson's strength was infamous. He could snap the jaws of a lion with his bare hands, lift boulders that no ordinary man could move, and bend iron as if it were paper. But his power came with an unsettling aura, an animalistic savagery that terrified even those who claimed to love him. One moonless night, the elders of Zorah summoned his mother to the temple. "The boy is dangerous," one of them hissed. "He is not natural. His strength is a curse, not a gift." She looked them in the eye and spoke the words that would haunt the town for years to come. "His strength is from the divine. Woe to anyone who dares provoke him." But Samson's enemies were not of Zorah. The Philistines, cruel and cunning, had long oppressed the Israelites, and they feared Samson's growing legend. They whispered of ways to break him, to harness or destroy the power that lay coiled within his monstrous frame. One fateful day, Samson ventured into the Philistine city of Timnah, drawn by a woman whose beauty was as disarming as it was dangerous. Her name was Delilah. She was a vision of seduction, her dark eyes shimmering with promises she would never keep. To Samson, she was a balm for his restless soul. To the Philistines, she was the perfect weapon. Delilah played her part well. By candlelight, she sang songs of love and devotion, tracing her fingers along his scars, coaxing secrets from his lips. "What is the source of your strength, my love?" she asked one night, her voice as soft as silk. Samson, drunk on wine and infatuation, laughed. "Bind me with 7 fresh bowstrings, and I'll be as weak as any other man." That night, while he slept, Delilah did just that. She bound him with bowstrings and called out, "The Philistines are upon you." But when the Philistine soldiers burst into the room, Samson snapped the strings like dry grass and slaughtered them all, his laughter echoing through the night. Delilah's betrayal stung, but Samson returned to her again and again, drawn like a moth to a flame. Each time she begged for the truth, and each time he spun another lie. But the shadows in her eyes deepened, and the love she professed turned into something darker. On the final night, Samson lay in Delilah's lap, his head heavy with exhaustion and wine. Her fingers combed through his hair, her voice a lullaby of deceit. "If you love me," she whispered, "tell me the secret of your strength. You trust me, don't you?" This time Samson faltered. The years of loneliness, the weight of his power, and the chains of his love for Delilah unraveled his resolve. "My strength lies in my hair," he confessed. "I was consecrated to God from birth. If my hair is cut, I'll be as weak as any man." Delilah's smile didn't reach her eyes. That night, as he slept, she called for a servant with a razor. By the time Samson woke, his hair lay in heaps on the floor, and the strength that had defined him was gone. The Philistines descended upon him like wolves. They gouged out his eyes and dragged him to Gaza, where they bound him in chains and threw him into a dungeon. Months passed, and the once mighty Samson was reduced to a shell of himself. Blind and broken, he was paraded through Philistine gatherings as a spectacle, a cautionary tale of what happens when power is unchecked. The people laughed and jeered, hurling stones and curses at him. But deep within the darkness of his prison cell, something stirred. The rage that had always bubbled beneath his skin began to simmer anew. He ran his fingers over his scalp, feeling the coarse stubble of his regrowing hair. Though his strength was gone, his will remained. One day, the Philistines held a grand feast to honor their god, Dagon. Thousands gathered in the temple, drunk on wine and arrogance. They brought Samson out to mock him, chaining him between 2 massive pillars that supported the structure. "Sing for us, mighty Samson," they taunted. "Show us your strength." But Samson was silent. He raised his face to the heavens, his empty eyes glistening with tears. "Lord," he whispered, "remember me. Strengthen me one last time, so I may avenge myself on my enemies." The air in the temple grew heavy, as if the weight of Samson's prayer had shifted the atmosphere. The laughter of the Philistines faltered, their jeers turning to uneasy murmurs. With a roar that shook the foundations of the earth, Samson braced his hands against the pillars. His muscles, once dormant, surged with a power that was both divine and monstrous. The stones beneath his feet began to crack. The Philistines screamed, scrambling for the exits, but it was too late. With a final cry of rage and pain, Samson pushed with all his might. The pillars shattered and the temple collapsed in a deafening roar, burying everyone within its walls. As the dust settled, the valley was silent. The once mighty Samson lay among the rubble, his body broken, but his vengeance complete.